Welcome to Prince Mathsclinic, the e-learning solution at your pace and time.
Good day, viewers, and it's my pleasure to welcome you once again to class as we'll be continuing our discussion in statistics. Today's question is a fine blend of mean and variance of 7 observations, and we were told that 2 observations are missing, right? But we are given the mean and the variance, and we have to find the remaining 2 observations. So let's go right into the solution. Now, let me state this clearly, that in statistics, it is your formula that will determine the method you are going to use. Now, we know that our standard deviation is simply the square root of over n squared. So, this is standard deviation, and you know that when you square your standard deviation, it gives you variance. So I'm going to square both sides. So if I square this side, the square will cancel the square root. So since it cancels out, I will rub off my square root. I know that what I have here is my variance. And in the question, we are given that the mean and variance are 8 and 16 respectively. So that means my variance is 16. So this is 16. My n is the number of observation, which is 7. My mean is 8. So mean is 8. So from here, we are going to slot in our values. But first of all, I need the summation of my x and the summation of my x squared. So what are the x? My x are the figures given 2. So I'm going to add, so let me just say summation x. So I'm going to add 2 plus 4 plus 10 plus 12 plus 14. Then let the other 2 observations that are missing, let's call them P, and let's call the other one Q, P and Q. So if I add everything up, 42. So this becomes 42 plus P plus Q. That's my summation of my x. Then in the same vein, I want to find, if I do this summation, x over n talks about mean, is it not so? So therefore, since this value is the summation of my x, I can divide it by n, and my n here is 7. And since this is our mean, I can equate it to the value for mean that was given to us. So this is equal to 8. So from here, if I multiply both sides by 7, to remove this fraction, I have to multiply by the LCM. I will have 42 plus P plus Q equals to 7 times 8 is 56. Therefore, my P plus Q will now be 56 minus 42, which will be 14. So P plus Q is 14. This is our first equation. Permit me to write down my P plus Q. Let me record it down here because I will need it. This is my equation 1. The next summation I want to take is the summation of my x squared. Summation of my x squared. Let me just put over n. So let me square. If you square 2, remember the first x is 2. If you square 2, you will get 4. If you square 4, you will get 16. If you square 10, you will get 100. If you square 12, you will get 144. And if you square 14, you will get 196. Then remember, we have added P and Q to the data. So if I square P, I'll get P squared. If I square Q, I'll get Q squared. Remember, everything over 7. So let's take our time to add. So if I add 4, it gives us what? 460. So therefore, I will have 460 plus p squared plus q squared, everything over 7. Remember, this is my summation x squared over n, which I will need to slot into my formula. Good. So now that I know that, remember this is my variance, the formula for my variance. So this part is what I have here. Therefore, 460 plus p squared plus q squared, everything over 7, then minus. Now, if you look at ex over n, that talks about mean, the average, right? And we have been given our mean to be 8 in the question. So therefore, I can just dump this into this equation. And 8 squared, it means 8 then squared, equal to, remember this formula is variance. Formula for variance is what? Is 16. Sorry, I didn't put a square before. I'm putting a square now. So the formula for variance is this, and my variance is 16 from the question. So I will equate this to what? So 16. Therefore, I simplify this by first of all making sure my 8 square is same as 64. So I'll put 64 here. To eliminate the fraction, I have to multiply each term by the LCM. So therefore, if I multiply this portion by 7, I will have 460 plus p squared plus q squared. Then, if I multiply 64 by 7, I will get 448. And if I multiply 16 by 7, 112. So collecting like terms now, I will have my p squared plus q squared. Then I want to bring every other thing to the side. So 112 is here. If this crosses here, it turns to positive 448. And if this crosses here, it turns to minus 460. So let me add and subtract all of that. It gives me 100. So therefore, p squared plus q squared is equal to 100. Therefore, and I know that my p squared plus q squared can be further simplified by doing this. P plus q all squared minus 2pq. Everything here, if you expand this bracket and subtract minus 2pq, you are going to get back p squared plus q squared. Everything equal to 100. And from equation 1, p plus q is 14. Remember the equation I documented here, right? So since p plus q is 14, to insert my p plus q, which is 14, substitute 14 here. So this becomes 14 squared, then minus 2pq equal to 100. Then, what is my 14 squared? 196 minus 2pq equals to 100. So collecting like term, now if 2pq comes here, it becomes positive 2pq, and if 100 comes here, it becomes 196 minus 100. And if you subtract 100 from 196, you get 96. So to get pq to stand alone, divide both sides by 2. If I divide this by 2, divide this by 2, 2 cancel 2 here, I'm left with pq. Then 2 goes in 96 is what? 48. All this, my equation 2, pq equals to 48 is my equation 2. And remember that my p plus q equals to 14 is my equation 1. Solving this simultaneously, from equation 1, I want to make q the subject here. I want to make q to stand alone. From 1, q will now become 14 minus p. If you like, I can call this equation 3, because equation 3 will help me obtain my value for q when I get the value for p. So I'm going to substitute 14 minus p to replace q in equation 2. Therefore, it will look like the pq means p times q. So since 14 minus p has replaced q here, it will now be p times 14 minus p equal to what? 48. So expanding this now, I have what? 14p minus p squared then equal to what? 48. That we have obtained this value, let me take everything I have here to this part. So if I bring p squared here, it turns to positive p squared. If plus 14p crosses, it turns to negative 14p. Then you have positive 48. Everything equal to 0. So open two brackets because this is giving us a quadratic equation. Now, since I have two brackets open, put a p here, put a p here. Now, this method I want to use has been done before. So you can check in the description of this video to find the link to how to solve quadratic equation in just 2 steps. That's what I'm going to do here now. So two numbers I will multiply that will give me positive 48. That if I add them, I will get minus 14 are simply minus 6 and minus 8. So let's go. If you multiply minus 6 with minus 8, you get positive 48. Then if you add minus 6 to minus 8, you get negative 14. Therefore, since these are products, right, that is equating to 0, it means any of these is equal to 0. So therefore, p minus 6 is equal to 0, or p minus 8 is equals to 0. So from here, p is equals to 6, or p is equals to 8. Remember our equation 3. I told you that we will need it to obtain what? Our value for q. Then if p is equals to 6, therefore q will now be what? 14 minus p, which is 14 minus 6, which will give us 8. Also, if p is equals to 8, so it means that our q will be 14 minus 8, which will be what? 6. So you can see that the values are alternating. When p is 6, right, our q is 8. And when p is 8, our q is 6. 6 and 8. So here is the solution to this question. And I do hope that the video was helpful. It was. Kindly share the video to your friends and loved ones. And also click on the notification icon so that you can get to see more videos as we upload them on the channel. And also like this video.